Suddenly find yourself in your late 40s or 50s after a long relationship or by choice. The kids might have grown up, but you still want to go on nice trips, but you're just a bit too anxious to do it on your own. Hi, my name is Beck. I'm in my late 40s and have been single for the last 6 years after a long-term relationship. And I have started going on solo camping trips most weekends. I often do take my dog, but I am absolutely loving it. Before COVID, when I was in a relationship as well, we used to do a lot of trips back to Europe or stop over in Thailand, Vietnam, do the beach, the cocktails, the pool. And as much as I'd still love to do that, it's just not practical at the moment. I do have a mortgage on my own now as a single middle-aged woman. I did adopt a cat and I also bought a dog. So going overseas is just a bit too complicated at the moment, plus financially not really viable. And so I do go on local camping trips. I'm lucky enough to live in an area of the world where we have amazing holiday hotspots just between an hour and 4 hours drive away here from Melbourne, Australia. And I've got everything from beaches, mountains, snowfields in winter, wineries, you name it, it's all here. So lots to explore, lots of hiking to do. And yes, I'm doing it all on my own with my car, my little tent and my dog. Every time I would plan another trip, someone at work or some of my friends would say, "Oh, is that safe to go on your own?" And to be honest, it had never crossed my mind that it might not be safe to go on my own. I do take my very, very dangerous guard dog with me. But other than that, I actually have never thought about not being safe. So after this question keeps popping up everywhere, every time I go. And I'm also a member on quite a few camping Facebook groups. And in there, a lot of the times women will come up saying, "Oh, I really would love to go on a trip by myself, but I'm just a bit scared and anxious. Is it safe? And what are the things you guys do to stay safe while traveling solo?" So I thought I'd put together a list of things that I do consciously and unconsciously that might help you to take the leap and actually just do it. Number 1, stay in caravan parks or national park run campsites. I know, a lot of people will say, well, that is not camping. If you're in a caravan park, that doesn't count. But to be honest, it still takes guts to go on your own, pack up your stuff, sleep in a tent, a swag, a car, whatever your setup is, be exposed to the environment, and not being able to lock a door really between you and whoever else might be out there. As a solo female traveler, I just don't feel safe staying in some of the free campsites, or there is some amazing national park sites available to go and explore. But I have watched Wolf's Creek when I first arrived in Australia, and that totally freaked me out. But also, I just don't feel comfortable going out that deep into nature and being there on my own, solo, and nothing else but wilderness around me, or just some other random strangers around me. And I have no way of knowing who they are, where they're from. And it might be really great to meet new people, but it could also go terribly wrong. So for myself, and I find as a guide to other solo travelers, I would suggest stay in caravan parks or in campsites that are well run, and people have to book, they have details, they have to pay money, and that already deters some of the crazy people out there, you would hope. Okay, number 2, start small. If this is the first time for you to go traveling alone or camping alone, don't overcomplicate it. I would suggest book a campsite or a cabin 1 or 2 hours away from home. That way, if you don't like it, if you feel anxious, if you feel unsure at any point, it's totally easy to get back home. No problem at all. For short trips, I also tend to research where I'm going. I plan in a lunch or dinner, breakfast, whatever is your preferred meal. I plan some of those meals to have them out, as in a pub, a cafe. That way I don't need to take all my food, the kitchen sink, etc. I can just travel with minimum stuff. And that makes it as well easier to pack up when it's time to leave. I'm lucky enough that I can sleep in my car. I actually have a full video of my car camping setup, which I will link in the description. So when I go, I have everything with me. Anyway, I can also lock the doors if I do end up at a new place that I've never been before and just don't feel that great about it maybe at first. It gives me that extra bit of security, I guess, better than just having a tent to be out in the open. But yes, don't overthink it. Make it as simple as possible, close to home. That way you can start slow. And if you don't like it, you just go home. So number 3 is a bit of a funny one. It's take your dog. If you do have a pet, and I'm very aware not everybody does, but a lot of people do. So if you do have a dog, don't be afraid to take him along on your little adventures. I take Harvey, my little Cavalier King Charles, on most camping trips, and he absolutely adores it. But more importantly, he's great company for me. He keeps me busy during the day if I'm on my own. He also is a great conversation starter, and I've had many nights where I've met people on a campsite that came by because they wanted to pat him, or they used to have a Cavalier and they just couldn't go past without saying hello. And we started chatting, and it ended up with having a few bottles of wine around a campfire. And yes, I have met some really amazing people just because I had my dog with me. Point number 4 is let people know where you're going. So before I go anywhere, I usually let my family and friends know what I've planned, where I'm going, how long I'm supposed to be where. And throughout the trip, I update them with some photos, Instagram stories, etc. So I do hope that if something would happen, someone would very quickly realize that they haven't heard from me and that something is up, and they would come looking for me. Well, this next point is sort of the opposite of the last one. It is do not tell people that you're traveling alone, which obviously friends, family need to know where you are. But while traveling, maybe don't advertise that you're traveling on your own. Obviously, people on the campsite will work it out eventually that you're there on your own. But if people ask me while I'm out walking at the beach, at the pub, the cafe, what I'm doing, I usually do not tell them that I'm by myself. And if they are getting a little bit too curious, I might say something, oh yes, my friend is joining me tomorrow. I don't know, my friend's just down the road picking up some shopping. I don't know. Just don't advertise it all over the shop that you are on your own. You never know who you're talking to. And yeah, it's just another point to just try and, stay as safe as possible. Arrive and pack up in daylight. One crucial point is to try and arrive and pack up in daylight. It's an absolute mess trying to set up a campsite in the dark, especially if you haven't been to the place before. You won't be able to get a good feeling about where you are, if it does feel safe where you are, who else is around, everybody might already be in bed. So yes, if you can help it, make sure you get there while the sun is up. And for packing up, it's just, again, an absolute pain to pack up in the dark. Plus, you're quite likely to forget something, you might not see something, you might stumble over stuff that you've thrown on the floor. And yes, you might arrive back home without half of your camping gear because it's just thrown around somewhere in the dark. So yeah, get there in the daylight, pack up in the daylight. Which brings us to the last point, which is, I think, the most important one, and this is trust your gut, trust yourself. If you arrive at a campsite and something doesn't feel right, get out of there. If you like the campsite, but suddenly some people moving in that feel a bit dodgy, go and talk to the caretaker or the owner of the caravan park about it. See if you can move sites or if they can do something about it. Don't just sit there and think everything will be okay. Your gut is your best indicator of what is safe and what isn't, and you're your best advocate. So trust yourself. If you do, you're going to have an amazing time camping solo, meeting new people. I find if you go on your own, you're way more likely to meet new people, have amazing conversations, amazing experiences. So yes, go with your gut, get out if it's unsafe, stay if it feels great, and you will have the best time.